The sky above Earth's northern hemisphere shimmered with an unnatural light, a faint halo that pulsed like a living heartbeat. Across the command centers scattered around the globe, alarms blared and screens flickered as the massive shape of a spacecraft came into view. It was enormous, impossibly old yet preserved in pristine condition, its hull etched with alien patterns that defied human comprehension. No transmissions had come. No warnings had preceded it. And yet every military and scientific protocol was already in motion. Dr. Elias Grant sat rigidly in the observation bay of the orbital station, his dark eyes fixed on the descending silhouette. A linguist by trade, he had studied alien phonetics and communication theory for nearly 20 years, but nothing in his career had prepared him for this. Beside him, Commander Rian Holt's presence was a stark contrast, broad-shouldered, alert, with a mind honed for strategy and survival rather than delicate analysis. The tension between them was palpable, yet it was not antagonistic. It was the unspoken acknowledgement that humanity's first direct contact with an ancient species demanded both intellect and action. Dr. Emerson leaned against the railing, his gaze darting across the viewports. He was a xenobiologist with a penchant for curiosity that bordered on recklessness, constantly seeking patterns in the chaos of the universe. "Whatever's coming," he said, his voice a mix of awe and apprehension. "It's old. Older than anything we've cataloged. And judging by the energy readings, it's alive, somehow." The three men were part of an international coalition assembled in response to the anomaly, a team tasked not only with survival but with diplomacy. While others prepared defenses, they were to attempt communication, to speak for Earth in the universal language of intelligence. But as the spacecraft descended, a hum of anticipation and dread filled the chamber. Then, without warning, a portion of the ship's surface shifted and melted into translucent curves, and a figure emerged. She was humanoid, yet every feature betrayed her otherworldly origin. Her skin shimmered with subtle iridescence, and her eyes were too large, too fluid in expression to belong to any human standard. She moved with deliberate grace, each step measured, each gesture precise. From her emanated a resonance that humans could feel more than hear, vibrations that brushed against the mind rather than the ears. Dr. Grant leaned forward instinctively, scanning for patterns in her movements, in the tones emanating from her presence. Historical data trickled into his mind. This diplomat, according to ancient interstellar records, had attempted contact with countless civilizations. None had understood her. Many had failed so catastrophically that her missions ended in abandonment or destruction. And now, for the first time in recorded history, she was standing before humanity. "Translation arrays online," Commander Holt said, his voice steady but tight with tension. He tapped a series of commands into the console, activating every known method of real-time decoding: linguistics algorithms, frequency analyzers, pattern recognition systems. The machines hummed and beeped, scanning the diplomat's every sound, gesture, and emitted pulse. But nothing matched. Dr. Emerson frowned. Her communication isn't just language. It's something else. Emotion? Intent? It's like she's speaking directly to our instincts, but we can't interpret it. Holt's jaw tightened. If we can't understand her, that's not just a diplomatic failure. That's a risk. The ship's hull integrity is fluctuating. We don't know why, but if it destabilizes, his words hung in the air, incomplete but terrifying. The diplomat raised a hand, her long fingers curling in what might have been a greeting or a warning. A low harmonic vibration resonated through the chamber. It was neither threatening nor benign, merely present, like the hum of a forest before dawn. Grant tried every analytic framework in his mind: phonetics, syntax, behavioral mimicry. Every method failed. Every assumption about communication collapsed. Yet even in failure, a thread of fascination wove through the human team. Here was a being who had outwitted countless species, whose language had eluded empires. And here they were, the first humans to confront her. Each man's mind raced, cataloging the possibilities. What if they could succeed where others failed? What if humanity's unique adaptability, Its blend of logic, intuition, and empathy was exactly what was required. The diplomat's gaze swept across them, settling on the three men with a focus that seemed to pierce thought itself. In that moment, there was no room for fear or hubris, only the raw, fragile hope that humans could rise to the occasion. The ship's internal lights flickered, a subtle signal that time was running out. Any failure now could mean the destruction of the vessel, and, perhaps more, a diplomatic message of warning to all intelligent life that humans were not to be trusted. Dr. Grant swallowed hard, adjusting the console's sensitivity. "We need to observe, not just react," he said. "We need to learn her patterns before we attempt anything else." Holt nodded, fingers hovering above his controls. "We adapt. We improvise. That's what humans do." Emerson's grin was fleeting but genuine. "And maybe, just maybe, we'll be the first species to understand her." The diplomat tilted her head, a movement so slight it could have been mistaken for curiosity. But in the charged silence of the chamber, it was monumental. It was the first acknowledgement that humanity might not only survive this encounter, but participate in a dialogue older than the stars themselves. As the countdown indicators on the ship flickered faintly, the three men exchanged glances. There was fear, yes, but also determination. The story of human ingenuity, of courage, of the drive to connect against impossible odds, was about to be written in the stars. And somewhere deep within that alien resonance, a question lingered. Could these humans, so young and untested among the cosmos, truly understand her? The answer hung in the charged air, unspoken, waiting for the first brave step forward. The hum of the alien ship filled the observation chamber, a constant vibration that seemed to pulse with intention. Dr. Grant adjusted the scanners again, eyes narrowing as he tried to parse patterns from the diplomat's gestures. Each movement was deliberate but enigmatic, fluid arcs of light from her skin, subtle shifts in posture, and harmonic tones that the machines failed to decode. Every human framework for communication faltered under her presence. Commander Holt stood behind the console, arms crossed, his mind turning over every tactical possibility. "We can't just throw algorithms at her," he muttered. "We need to watch, learn, respond. She's testing us, or at least observing how we react." His words carried the weight of experience, the unspoken acknowledgement that alien intelligence did not follow human rules. Holt's patience was not infinite, yet he refused to act rashly. Survival demanded restraint and precision. Dr. Emerson floated closer to the alien diplomat, his eyes alight with curiosity. "Look at the rhythm of her gestures," he said. "It's almost like music, not language. There's repetition, variation, maybe even emotion encoded in timing." Grant tilted his head, considering. The observation was correct. Every signal emitted by the diplomat carried a layered complexity beyond syntax or phonetics. Humans were trained to interpret words, but here was something different, a resonance that required intuition, empathy, and patience. Hours passed, the three men immersed in a tense study of the diplomat's behaviors. Every attempt to respond through translation arrays ended in silence or minor discord. Holt's hand hovered over the emergency controls, a constant reminder that the ship's hull was unstable. If they failed, the vessel might collapse, and the first interstellar contact in human history would end in catastrophe. Yet failure was impossible to accept. "Try mimicking her movements," Emerson suggested, almost absent-mindedly. Grant raised an eyebrow, skeptical but intrigued. He mirrored a gesture, a slow, deliberate arc of the arm, and the diplomat paused, her luminous eyes fixing on him. There was no overt reaction, yet something had shifted. Holt noticed it too. The vibrations in the chamber subtly changed, resonating with the copied motion. It was a small breakthrough, an acknowledgement that humans could interact through imitation rather than translation. The breakthrough sparked discussion, debate, and even disagreement. "It's not enough to mimic," Grant insisted. "We have to understand intent to anticipate her next pattern. Otherwise, we're just echoing, not communicating." Holt countered, voice firm. "Intent isn't a luxury here. We survive by reacting." observation, and adaptation. That's human strength. Stop overthinking. Emerson smiled wryly. And that's exactly what she's testing. Logic alone won't crack this. Even in these tense moments, glimpses of humanity's ingenuity emerged. Holt suggested subtle shifts in their positioning, adjusting for line of sight and light reflection. Grant documented micro-expressions and vibrations, building a mental map of the diplomat's signals. Emerson experimented with harmonic tones, modulating pitch and rhythm to match perceived emotions. Each man's skill contributed, yet no single approach solved the mystery alone. As night fell over Earth, transmitted time marked only by orbital cycles, a small sign of progress appeared. The diplomat reacted more noticeably to certain gestures, pauses, repetitions, variations in tone. She did not respond to literal language, but to nuance, emphasis, rhythm, subtle changes in energy. Humans were beginning to understand that communication here was not about words. It was about connection, timing, and emotional resonance. Holt broke the silence. We need to stay coordinated. One wrong move, one misinterpretation, and she might withdraw, or worse.
Think of it as a dance.
We don't lead yet. We follow, learn, adapt. Grant nodded, realizing the truth of it. Every movement mattered. Every decision carried weight beyond mere survival. It was a test of intellect, patience, and adaptability, a test humans were uniquely suited to pass. Yet the stakes continued to rise. The ship's internal diagnostics flickered with instability, indicating energy fluctuations and structural strain. Dr. Emerson floated closer to the controls, reading the data aloud. We're seeing microcollapses in the hull. Whatever her ship is powered by, it's delicate. Miscommunication could trigger a chain reaction. Timing matters as much as comprehension. The warning was clear. Their failure could be literal, catastrophic. Despite the mounting tension, moments of human instinct shone through. Holt's military experience allowed him to anticipate potential dangers, keeping the team safe. Grant's analytical mind searched for hidden patterns, framing the diplomat's signals in ways no machine could replicate. Emerson's intuition bridged gaps, daring approaches that defied conventional reasoning. Their collaboration, though imperfect, revealed a core truth. Humans thrived when blending logic, intuition, and courage. Then, in a quiet instant that felt suspended in time, the diplomat tilted her head slightly, a subtle adjustment in posture that neither machine nor translator array had predicted. Grant froze, sensing its significance. Holt instinctively mirrored the motion, and Emerson responded with harmonic tones modulated in gentle variation. The diplomat paused, then emitted a resonance that seemed more like acknowledgement than mere sound. It was fleeting, almost imperceptible, but enough to ignite hope. The three men exchanged glances, unspoken understanding passing between them. They were beginning to bridge the impossible, to find connection where all others had failed. The alien was not yet speaking in words humans could understand, but she was responding in a language older and more profound, one of rhythm, intention, and emotional resonance. Holt exhaled, tension rolling off him in a rare moment of relief. "We're on the right track," he said, voice low but firm. "Keep watching. Keep responding. We've only just begun, but we're moving forward." Grant nodded, scanning the diplomat's subtle motions and shimmering tones. Each gesture was now a clue, a fragment of comprehension waiting to be pieced together. Emerson's grin returned, wider this time. "This is why humans matter," he whispered. "No algorithm, no precedent, just us, figuring it out where others couldn't." The hum of the chamber shifted, a vibration that suggested curiosity rather than hostility. The alien diplomat had begun to notice them not as intruders or subjects, but as participants in something far larger than themselves. The human team was learning that understanding was not merely a technical problem, it was a challenge of perception, intuition, and courage. Outside the viewport, the stars continued their silent rotations, indifferent to the fragile, electric dance unfolding inside the alien vessel. Inside, 3 human men and 1 ancient diplomat were beginning a dialogue that might redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. It was slow, precarious, and full of risk, but it was real. And somewhere deep within her resonant tones, the diplomat's curiosity had been piqued. The first crack in the wall of silence had been made. The hum of the chamber had shifted from static tension to something more electric, more anticipatory. Every subtle movement of the diplomat, every pulse of her shimmering form, felt weighted with potential. Dr. Grant scribbled frantically into his tablet, charting patterns, micro-expressions, and tonal variations, yet even he sensed that logic alone would not suffice. They were approaching a threshold that required more than skill or calculation. It required intuition. It was Liam Cross who first noticed the anomaly. Unlike the others, he had not been central to the team's early analyses. A junior linguist with a reputation for instinct over structure, he had spent much of the past hours observing quietly, letting patterns wash over him rather than dissecting them. Now he leaned forward, eyes narrow, watching the diplomat's subtle changes, the brief tilts of her head, the minuscule undulations in her iridescent skin, the pauses that punctuated her resonance. "It's not a language in the way we think of language," he murmured. "It's emotion. It's thought. We're trying to translate words, but we need to translate intention." Holt shot him a skeptical glance, arms crossed. "Intention? You mean guesswork?" Liam shook his head. "Not guesswork. Alignment. We respond to what she feels, not what she says. That's why we're hitting dead ends. Machines can't process empathy, and even we've been overanalyzing." Emerson leaned over, intrigued despite himself.
"Go on," he said.
Liam took a deep breath and stepped closer to the diplomat, raising his hand in a gesture that mirrored one she had made earlier, a slow, deliberate arc toward his chest, then outward. He closed his eyes, modulating his voice not in words, but in tone, low, calm, resonant, almost humming a rhythm that matched the diplomat's vibrations. The effect was immediate. The subtle pulses in the room shifted. The diplomat paused mid-step, tilting her head, and for the first time, the resonance felt reciprocal. Dr. Grant froze. "Liam," he whispered, awe tinged with disbelief. Holt's hand moved instinctively to the emergency controls, but he did not intervene. Something fundamental was happening, and even the seasoned commander recognized it. Humans were on the verge of something no machine, no precedent, had ever achieved. The diplomat's luminous eyes focused on Liam with intensity. Her pulses synchronized with his voice and gestures, forming a rhythm that resonated through the chamber. It was as though a bridge were forming, a connection that transcended words. Holt's usual composure faltered. "He's communicating," he said softly. Liam continued, subtly varying pitch and gesture, improvising in real time based on her responses. Small smiles, flickers of color along her iridescent skin, shifts in tone. These were the answers. Not words, not symbols, but signals of comprehension and acknowledgement. Slowly, carefully, Liam began to construct a simple dialogue, intuitive and instinctive. Grant leaned closer to the console, fingers flying over the arrays. "I think he's cracked the structure," he said. "It's not phonetics, it's resonance-based syntax. Each emotional tone is a unit of meaning, each gesture a modifier. And Liam, he's adapting in real time." Emerson's grin widened. "This is why humans matter. No algorithm, no precedent, just improvisation, intuition." He's speaking her language, without knowing it. The diplomat responded with deliberate motion now, pulsing with a rhythm that seemed almost celebratory. She raised her hands, and Liam mirrored her exactly, a delicate balance of patience and courage. Holt exhaled slowly. "I've seen soldiers trained for decades fail at adaptability. Liam's instinctive approach, that's something else entirely." Minutes passed, yet it felt like hours. The resonance between human and alien strengthened, becoming more intricate, more nuanced. Liam began to perceive subtle patterns, repeated sequences that signified questions, prolonged vibrations that indicated agreement or acknowledgement, flickers of light that expressed curiosity. He responded not mechanically but intuitively, anticipating the diplomat's next move. Then came the moment of clarity. A subtle tilt, a pulse that lingered longer than the rest, a combination of gestures that Liam instinctively mirrored with pitch, rhythm, and movement, and suddenly, comprehension ignited in the chamber. The diplomat's resonance became fluid, almost conversational. They were communicating, not through words, but through a language of emotion, timing, and mutual awareness. Holt stepped back, finally allowing a rare moment of awe to enter his voice. By all that's measured, we're talking to her. Really talking. Grant's hands shook slightly as he documented the phenomenon. It's more than communication, he said. It's connection. We've crossed a threshold other species couldn't reach. Emerson floated closer, eyes bright. And the ship, she's responding. Stabilizing. Whatever her systems were, they're syncing with him. Liam isn't just speaking, he's harmonizing with her. He's diplomatic energy in motion. Liam, eyes fixed on the diplomat, felt a surge of exhilaration and focus. It was not mastery but partnership, not dominance but understanding. Every motion, every pulse, every sound was a conversation. In this delicate balance, humanity's uniqueness revealed itself. Not brute force, not pure intellect, but adaptability, empathy, and courage under uncertainty. The ship's diagnostics flickered and stabilized. The once threatening energy fluctuations faded. The diplomat now moved freely within the chamber, her attention fully engaged with the humans. They had achieved what countless civilizations had failed to do. Humans had not only reached understanding, they had built a bridge across millennia, across species, across the boundaries of thought itself. Grant turned to Holt and Emerson, voice barely above a whisper. We've done it. We're not just observing anymore. We're participants. For the first time in recorded history, a human has truly communicated with her. Holt's expression softened, admiration and relief mingling in his eyes. And we didn't need a machine to do it. Just human ingenuity. Instinct, courage, intuition. Emerson's grin was unrestrained. This is what I've been waiting for. Humans, in their purest form, solving the impossible. Outside the viewport, the stars spun silently, indifferent yet witnessing the fragile miracle unfolding inside. Inside, a single human male had bridged a gap no species had ever crossed. The alien diplomat's luminous form shimmered in acknowledgement, pulses of resonance, weaving a pattern of connection, curiosity, and trust. And somewhere in that subtle, vibrating language, Liam felt an unmistakable message. We are not merely visitors in this galaxy. We are participants, capable of understanding, capable of creation, capable of resonance. For the first time, the diplomat smiled, not a human smile, but an acknowledgement of recognition. And the humans, standing at the edge of the unknown, understood the weight of what they had achieved. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, hope was real, tangible, and shared. The air inside the alien vessel felt lighter now, the tension that had gripped the humans for hours replaced by an almost tangible rhythm of cooperation. Liam Cross remained at the forefront, his every gesture harmonized with the diplomat's resonant pulses. Around him, Grant monitored the consoles, charting patterns with renewed precision, while Holt's vigilant presence ensured no unforeseen danger would disrupt their fragile progress. Emerson floated between them, a bridge of curiosity and intuition, ready to respond to both human and alien signals. Energy levels are stabilizing, Grant said quietly, fingers tracing the lines on the display. Whatever was causing the micro-collapses is diminishing. She's cooperating with us, not resisting. Holt allowed a brief nod of approval. Good. We've bought ourselves time, but we can't assume it's permanent. Keep her engaged. Keep her synchronized. Liam adjusted his tone and posture, subtly mirroring the diplomat's gestures. Each movement was deliberate, a careful balance between observation and improvisation. Slowly, the alien pulses began to convey information, a kind of structural map of the ship's systems, subtle hints about where stabilization was most needed. It was an invitation for collaboration, not command. Emerson leaned close to Grant. If he can interpret her responses accurately, we might actually prevent the structural failures entirely. And she's giving us guidance without words. She's trusting us. Grant nodded, awe-tempered with concentration. The human mind had never encountered a communication system so intertwined with thought and intention, yet here they were navigating it successfully. Holt's voice cut through the hum. Liam, focus on the main conduits. If we redirect energy along these channels while she stabilizes the core, we can synchronize the ship's systems fully. Liam followed instinctively, adjusting the resonance of his tone, the rhythm of his gestures. The diplomat mirrored him with exquisite precision, amplifying and modulating the signals. Slowly, methodically, the pulses in the ship aligned. Time became irrelevant as humans and alien worked in perfect coordination. Micro-collapses ceased, light stabilized, and the vessel's hum shifted from precarious tension to a steady, harmonious resonance. Holt allowed himself a rare smile. She's not just responding, she's cooperating. She trusts us now. Grant's voice softened, almost reverent. It's remarkable. This isn't just communication. It's connection. We're interfacing with a mind older than any civilization we know. And we're doing it as humans. Our instincts, our empathy, our courage, it all matters here. Emerson's grin widened. HFY in action. Humans, no machinery required, just thinking, adapting, responding. The diplomat's iridescent form pulsed in a manner that felt like approval, and then, slowly, she shifted her posture toward Liam, extending a gesture that was unmistakably formal, yet profoundly intimate, a sign of acknowledgement. Liam returned it with equal care, and in that moment, a bridge between species was solidified. The ship's systems fully stabilized, yet the human team knew that this was only the beginning. Holt's military instincts reminded him that caution remained necessary. We've proven ourselves, he said, voice firm. But this is one encounter. The galaxy is vast, and not every intelligence we meet will respond the same way. Liam, still attuned to the diplomat's resonance, nodded. I understand. But we've demonstrated something fundamental. Humans can adapt where logic alone fails. We can understand, create, and connect in ways no one predicted. Grant placed a hand on Liam's shoulder. You led the breakthrough. Your intuition guided us through the impossible. Liam felt a quiet pride but also the weight of responsibility. He had discovered a strength inherent in humanity, a combination of observation, empathy, and courage that set them apart in the cosmos. The diplomat's pulses slowed, becoming steady and contemplative. She seemed to communicate a final message, one of gratitude and respect. Though no words were exchanged, every human present understood. The bridge had been built, trust established, and a dialogue initiated that could last far beyond this first encounter. Holt exhaled, glancing around at the team. History will record this moment, whether or not anyone else ever sees it. We've not only survived, we've engaged with something extraordinary. And it was all human ingenuity that made it possible. Emerson floated closer to the viewport, eyes tracing the stars spinning silently outside. It's humbling. The universe is indifferent, vast, and often hostile. But for the first time, we've made a mark. Not with firepower, not with machines, but with thought, courage, and connection. Liam continued to maintain the resonance, feeling the subtle shifts in the diplomat's pulses. She's teaching us as much as we're teaching her, he said quietly. We've learned her language isn't words, it's empathy, intention, harmony. And that's something humans excel at. We might be young in the galaxy, but we can learn, adapt, and even lead where others falter. Grant watched him with a mix of awe and respect. And that's the essence of HFY, isn't it? Our species thrives because we innovate, because we adapt, because we see patterns others miss. Liam just proved that on a scale we've never imagined. Outside, the stars continued their indifferent orbit, but inside the chamber, a quiet miracle had occurred. Humanity had not only survived contact with an alien intelligence, but had actively engaged it, forged understanding where all others had failed, and established a precedent that could define their place in the galaxy. The diplomat shifted her form, extending a final gesture that resonated with the humans on a level beyond language. It was a promise. She would return, she would remember, and she would consider humanity a species worthy of attention, respect, and collaboration. Holt allowed himself a rare, broad smile.
"We've earned it," he said simply.
Emerson nodded, eyes bright with uncontainable excitement. And this is just the beginning. The universe doesn't know it yet, but humans have arrived. Liam lowered his hands, a calm satisfaction settling over him. For the first time, he truly understood what had driven his species for millennia: curiosity, courage, empathy, and the ability to face the unknown without surrendering. Humanity had bridged an impossible divide, and the future, uncertain, vast, and full of challenges, was theirs to shape. The diplomat's luminous form shimmered one last time, then retreated to the ship's core. The humans stood together, united not only by survival but by the extraordinary realization of what it meant to be human. They had proven their capacity for ingenuity, resilience, and understanding in the face of the cosmos itself. And somewhere in the silent expanse beyond, new possibilities waited: interstellar alliances, dialogues of unprecedented depth, and adventures that could only be undertaken by a species that had shown it could think, feel, and act beyond any measure the universe had yet encountered. The stars outside were still, indifferent yet watching. Inside, humanity had arrived.